Welcome back to City Speak. I am your host, Melanie Fonder-Kay, Senior Executive with the National League of Cities. City Speak gives listeners an insider's view of what local leadership in America means today and features conversations with government leaders and policy experts regarding the biggest issues and challenges facing America's cities, towns, and villages. Joining us today is John McArdle, former mayor of Independence, Oregon, serving for 26 years before retiring in 2024. During his time as mayor, he was known as a leader who tackled tough issues and set ambitious goals. He was also a convener who connected local leaders across Oregon as president of both the Oregon Mayors Association and the Oregon League of Cities. He also has another title, Olympian. John McArdle, welcome to City Speak.
Thank you. I'm excited to be here with you.
Well, can we just start with your Olympic story? Can you just please tell us that?
Well, I grew up in Salem, Oregon, and I was a high school athlete I participated, went on to the University of Oregon, and I didn't know anything about recruited athletes or anything like that. And I found out that discus throwers were throwing 40 and 50 feet further than I was. And they said, "Hey, we need a hammer thrower." And they handed me a hammer and said, "Go out in the back and learn to throw it." Well, by and by, over 4 or 5 years, I was able to be successful enough. A few people helped and made the United States Olympic team in 1980, the year we didn't get to go to Moscow. And so, but I competed for the U.S. From the late 70s into the early 90s, world championships, dual meets, meets around the world. And because of the Olympic boycott, they got me involved in the political side of track and field as an athlete representative. And then from there, the athletes voted me forward to the United States Olympic Committee. I had a chance to be a board member of the United States Olympic Committee, serve on a number of panels and committees. And I'm now vice president, and I'm president of the Oregon chapter of the Olympic and Paralympic Alumni Association, and also vice president of that same organization with the United States. And so there's lots of different parts that go into that, but that's the overarching and my Olympic activities and learning the politics of sport got me all warmed up for how to deal with the politics of both the local and the state level.
Oh, that's amazing. So just tell us a little bit more about how did your experience as an Olympian prepare you for your work with local government?
Well, it's hard. And to be successful as an athlete, you need to have a goal, have a focus, build a team around you, and work hard every day towards that goal. You have to make a plan and move forward. It's very much just like local government. You've got to make a plan. You've got to build a team. You've got to work hard on it every day. And it's got to be a goal that's worth it. Because otherwise, why are we spending time? Why are we spending effort to paint a park bench? I love park benches, but let's do something that's worthwhile. And those are the kind of things that it's athletics. Well, the Olympics are based on. I had, as part of my Olympic travels, I had the opportunity to attend the International Olympic Academy, which was a intellectual and scholarly activity in ancient Olympia, Greece. I was one of 4 Americans that were able to join 120, 130 people.
Wow.
And learn things that were interesting. The ancient Olympics, of course, there was the athletics, but the discipline of athletics. But there was also the discipline of scholarly research, the discipline of art and culture. And so the key word here is the discipline of. And so that's why we hear and we see the athletic portion of it on TV. But there is still an art and culture. There's still a scholarly research component associated with the Olympic parts. And it's the discipline of. And that's the same thing that you have in local government, the discipline of being, I like to say that local government, they're policy artists. You never think about that, but they really are. They are experts in community and in crafting, in finding ways to move things forward. And so all those things come together. And, you know, mayors around the world, we're all working on the same stuff.
Yeah, I think a lot about, sports, music. What are these huge sort of unifiers that we have, and definitely the Olympics are one of them. How can that sort of, especially in this polarized moment we're sort of in, how can that experience from sports and discipline and things that you're talking about, how can we apply that at the local level to increase civility and trust in local
Well,
government?
one of the things that, we hope to see in most of the competitions that we're watching on TV now, a level of sportsmanship, a level of mutual respect. Now, I got to tell you, myself and all the athletes I know, we're competitive. That is, but competition does not mean ripping the throat out of your opponent. There is respect. There is sportsmanship, and it's people will do what they see. Everybody who's been to youth sports, if you act in a respectful manner, if you show good sportsmanship, the kids will do the same thing. Well, that expands to our communities. If you show mutual respect for other people, you don't have to always agree. My wife and I have been married for more than 30 years, and we don't agree on everything, but we try to demonstrate mutual respect, listen to each other, and try to understand the other thing. Sport's a unifying kind of thing. It's something we can all get behind, whether it was the 1980 Olympic hockey team or the gymnasts or any of the things. It's something we can get behind, and we find commonality. And that's one of the things that Olympic athletes or athletes around the world, we find that our competitors are more like us than not. Whether it's sitting down and having a beer with the Russians, or eating sausages with Germans on the Rhine, or any of those kind of things. It's connecting, working together, respect. Those are the kind of things that I think are important. And that's one of the reasons the Olympics happened, is to bring people together, because you don't fight with people you know. One of my favorite little stories, see, once I start telling stories, um, I remember my first competition. Before I went, some of the old timers said, "John, make sure you take a Frisbee." And I go, "Why?" I said, "Well, no, one person doesn't play Frisbee." So I did. I pulled it out of my Nike bag. I was in an athlete village. And so I picked up the Frisbee and threw it. And somebody 50 yards away picked it up and threw it back. And we started doing it. And then somebody else joined in. Then somebody else. Little did I know at that point, one of the people who'd picked up the Frisbee and thrown it back was an Israeli athlete. Other
Wow.
person who picked it up and threw it back was an Egyptian athlete. Okay. And so folks got together. We were playing Frisbee, but that opened the door for conversation. And isn't that what life's about, is getting to know people and finding out that we're all on the same page? So all these kind of things set up a tone and create a pattern that I think is replicable in our communities.
Well, absolutely. And you say, you brought the Frisbee and look who caught it. But, in your local community every single day, for local leaders especially, right? They're seeing their residents at the post office, at church, at the grocery store.
Exactly right.
So they have that.
I think that's one of the things, and I'm proud to have been the mayor of a city of 10,000, and we have a neighboring city of 10,000. Okay, in a smaller community, we had one. Both our cities share one high school. It's scale. You can be disengaged if you want to, but you're going to see people at the grocery store. You're gonna see people downtown. That's they make jokes about Montana and Wyoming and even Alaska, that you gotta be nice to people or else there's nobody to talk to, you know? And I think that's scale makes a difference. And I think that that's what connection is important. And so local leaders need to find ways to connect with people. We all do it different ways. I used to have a sidewalk office. I'd open a, a sandwich board, set it up on the sidewalk in the middle of downtown, and people could come up and visit me on talk about anything. And okay, that was,
And you did that when you were
oh
elected?
yeah, did that regularly. And it was the kind of thing. So a lot of times people just drive by and go, I could stop, I could visit with the mayor if I wanted to. I don't need to right now, but I could. But people would come up. There's, different ways that people do it. Our current mayor does lots of town halls. That works for her. It's the idea. It's the idea of connecting with people because at least in our community, being mayor is not a paid gig. There are only two full-time mayors in Oregon. There's a few other cities that put a stipend. Everybody else is a volunteer. And so we're all working to try to make things better together. And isn't that how a team is successful? One of the things that I see on TV is I'm always thrilled when I see the team that supports an athlete, whether it's coaches or teammates or people in the in the stands that are watching. No one gets there alone. No one has a successful community alone.
Well, absolutely. And we're not done with the Olympics yet, but we are getting close. So for you, for the Milan Cortina games, what has been the most inspiring part of the games for you so far?
Well,
And where have you seen that spirit, that team spirit shine?
I watched that, and it's not just the US team. It's every team. It's every team that there are people cheering for each other. Even competitors are cheering for good performances. People know each other. We've been competing against each other all over the world for years, so we know uh, the situations that people are overcoming. To see people who are overcoming uh, job challenges, injuries, death, families, friends, the human experience. And to see people overcoming that, to see people from other places recognize it. So it's not one particular event at this point, but it's the flavor, it's the passion, it's the commitment that that energizes me, that provides encouragement, inspiration. And I think sometimes we forget the power of inspiration, the power of an idea. And that's something that we as local leaders need to embrace, need to do things that are worth time and effort, that are thinking big, because a big thing can shrink, can be scaled, but a micro thing goes away.
Yeah, I love that. What inspired you to first, become a local leader?
Well, when I was saying I got involved in sport politics and learning about that, I could see that a person could make a difference. And my wife and I live in our community. We chose to raise our son here. We came from different places and we ended up here. And that I had skills and I wanted to help. And the other part is that my travels, in my competitive years, I saw facilities, I saw places around the world. I had new ideas put in front of me. I said, we could do some of those kind of things here. And one of the most important things I think is an attitude, is getting people who have a positive attitude together to go, we can do these things. Why not? Let's take a look. So what did that turn into? Well, you know, at the beginning part of the century, doesn't that make me feel old? The part of the century, um, we didn't have high-speed fiber in our area. We had copper wire, and we asked the telecoms, "Hey, when are we going to get it?" And they said, "Oh, 20, 25 years." And our neighboring city and I, the two mayors, we got together and said, "We can do better." So you know what? We own, the two cities created, own, and operate our own high-speed fiber system. So if you want a gig at home like we do, that's it. It's locally owned, locally operated. It's a big enough idea. You want 2.5
Right.
gigs, not a problem. It's a big enough idea that made a difference long term for our community. And I could go on those kind of things. We have a trolley that runs between the two cities and the university. Uh, and it looks like Mr. Rogers trolley. And it's cute and people love it. And in our little city, 10,000 people a month ride the trolley.
Hmm.
And so, those kind of things. We have an entrepreneurial mindset, but those are the kind of things you got to think big enough and make a plan and move forward, getting a team to do it. Because so anyway, I'd seen those kind of things. And so I was able to share some ideas and some things, and you build momentum. You have a little success, and then you build on that success, and then you build on that, and people join in. And it's not a cult of personality, because once it gets going, it creates its own momentum. And that's one of the things we see in sport all the time is momentum makes a difference. And in 1980, I remember watching the 1980 hockey team. I was a track and field person, but I was motivated by watching what they did. And I see that in all sorts of other competitions. You come away going, gosh, we could do that. Or what about? Have we ever thought of? And that's what I think local leaders need to do. Be bold, because, you know, and I have the opportunity to help train um, mayors, city councilors, county commissioners, and the things that you're doing, make sure they're big enough, because when you're doing that, like when our son was growing up, I'd have to be at a council meeting in the evening. And I had to justify to myself and my family that what we were doing was worthwhile,
Was worth it.
missing reading stories to him at night. And that kind of set the tone of what we were going to do. We used city manager form of government. But we thought about big enough stuff that was going to make a real difference. And that kind of keeps all the sniping down, because you're going at a bigger goal. And whether that's in athletics, whether that's on the stage with music or drama, whether that's scholarly research, a big enough goal, and work for it, and don't just exist, prosper, flower.
I mean, I'm hearing like the theme, right? Which is, that inspiration, be bold, being part of the team, the momentum all leads to, good things happening in your
There you go.
community, right?
And you folks at the NLC get the opportunity to see victories all over.
Yeah, we get to see the best of America's cities, towns, and
It is.
villages every single day. That's exactly right.
Well, I'm very proud, and yes, I'm unabashedly promoting our little community. 10 years ago, Independence, Oregon was named an All-America city. One of the smaller cities in America to do that. But how did we do that? It was attitude. It was,
Right.
we could do it. The things that we can do. How do we mobilize people? And that makes it makes a real difference. Attitudes are everything, and they're contagious. Is yours worth catching?
Yep. Right. Well, looking back, what advice do you wish you had someone give you or would have given yourself as you began your post-Olympic life?
Oh, that's a harder one. You know, Patience. You said something post-Olympic life. Let me talk about that for a second. Once you had an experience, it's always going to be part of it. And so while I don't put on my sweats and my shoes and go out and throw my hammer in the field anymore, um, but that Olympic and international experience is still there. It's whether it's working on projects, whether it's working on the policy side of the sport world, uh, figuring out where we're going to host events, uh, working with the alumni folks, and one of the things that if I was to tell myself, to realize, if I got to hang around with people who just, oh, the Olympics, the World Championships is just kind of like, oh, okay. Well, I'd forgotten that it was a bigger deal to other people, that it was just something I did. It was just, okay, just just what we did. But I forget
It's a huge deal.
that
Yeah.
that it's special, that it still gets kids excited. It still gets Rotary clubs and business groups kinda going, "Ooh, ah," and there's a bully pulpit to
Right.
share the stories. Just what we're doing today is, sharing the insights, the commonalities, and, I'd like to think a little bit of inspiration, maybe tweak things along. Uh, there is something there's something very special when you go talk to a high school group, and
Right.
there's the formal talk. And then, afterwards we may have had a clinic and we're all in the locker room getting changed. And it's the informal conversations and people go, I never thought about that. Could
Right.
do that. Or what about? Or, you know, many people don't know how to make a plan. I've done a bunch of talks in schools and written up on the board. Okay, um, how to become a district champion. You got to go to practice. You got to know your coach. Got to know that. Okay, how do you get an A? What's the hardest class in school? It's Mrs. Jones's nuclear powered algebra. Okay, well, how do you get an A? Well, nobody gets an A. Well, how would you? Well, you got to go to class every day. Got to get to work with the teacher. Got to do your, and all of a sudden they go, oh, nobody ever has shown them how to make a plan and how to move it through. It's amazing,
Mm.
but I've had I've had people pay me money to do that talk, for business people also or schools, those kind of things. And it seems very simple, but until somebody tells you how to do it, and that was part of my Olympic experience. I had a former Olympian sit down and say, John, how would you get there? And we sat down on a napkin in a pizza parlor and wrote it down. And so
Mhm.
I wish I still had the napkin, but those kind of things.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we have obviously the Olympics coming here in a couple of years to the United States. We have a lot of other major sporting events happening sort of in this decade of sport. What would you say to local leaders who want to think about how to attract major events to their community or to capitalize events happening in their region?
Well, first of all, with LA happening, LA 28, and then Salt Lake in 34. So you're absolutely right. And then we've got the World Cup this summer. So those are big events. Now, if you're a small town, you're not. We don't have a stadium that's that big. We're not. But emphasize for what you have. Take a look at what your resources are, and there are lots and lots of different events. Let me just tell you this last fall, here in Independence, Oregon, along the Willamette River, 70 miles south of Portland, we had a cyclocross event, which is we had parkland along the river, and they needed places to ride bicycles cross country on a course. We had 300 and some participants plus family members. And okay, it was land that uh, is a little rough, but it was great. People came. It filled the hotel, it filled the restaurants. They want to come back. So those kind of things. So take a look at what you have and partner with another community. Find who the partners are. Why does it make sense? Not just a one-time kind of thing. What makes long-term sense for you? And start small if you have to. Just get going. The kinds of events, especially smaller communities, if you don't have a giant stadium and you don't have a giant sports commission with bazillion dollars, find the things that you can do. Youth events, because for every kid that comes, like 3.8 people come with them.
With them.
That's right. And I've been on site selection committees at the Olympic level, okay, and at US track and field. A lot of times, major events in the United States, whether it's track and field or archery or bocce ball, they don't need a lot of stuff. They just want somebody to say, "Hi, we'd like to have you here.
Hey, come
That's
here.
right.
Yeah.
Please come. Here's what we have to offer. We decorate our downtown. We can make it nice for you. We can declare it a it it's humans. It's people to people. Emphasize what you have and look outside and utilize your resources that you have. Everybody has resources. You have people in town who travel. They go places. They talk to people. Well, have you ever thought of ask. There people want to get out and about, whether it's cyclocross, whether it's a road race, whether it's a kids sporting event, whatever it is. And it doesn't have to be just a sport type thing, you know, art shows, music festivals. Okay. Think of what you have and find a way to make it happen. Think of a goal, make a plan,
Get a team together.
start working it, because every community has an opportunity to do a festival, to do a something. So, and make it worth your while.
Well, speaking of big celebrations, obviously we're marking 250 years of America this year. And I'm just curious, especially with a name like Independence, if you all have anything in the
Oh
works.
God. You first of all, you need to come, because we've had a 4th of July parade that goes from Monmouth, Oregon to Independence along the river. It's 3.5 miles. It's been going for 125 years. It's put on by
Amazing.
the Rotary Club. Okay. And it's terminally local. We have about 125 to 150 entries. You get in up to 20 minutes in advance. And it's kids on doing playing music on backs of trucks. They've had the big, ugly station wagon club. They've everything. The county even comes over with an antique manure spreader, and the county commissioners ride in it.
Fabulous.
Every
It sounds
so
wonderful.
those kind of things. One of the
Yep.
things that I am very proud that we've done a couple of times is that we are a diverse community. We have a large Latino population. A couple of years ago, we were able to do a naturalization reenactment, because they give people the oath of allegiance to become a citizen. They do that in Portland, but the families aren't always there. And now I'm a
Hmm.
naturalized American citizen also. And so this has a special place. But we had in our amphitheater, with 800 to 1,000 people watching,
Wow.
we did a reenactment of those folks taking the oath of allegiance. And we did it right there. And it's amazing, because when most people haven't heard what you have to swear to, amongst the things like, I will promise to serve in the military as required by law. I promise to serve in jobs of national importance when required by law. And people go, oh, wow. And so all of a sudden, it was an unbelievably warm and wonderful thing to see these brand new American citizens who came from other parts of the world, who chose to be part of not just our community, but to become citizens. And it was, I got to tell you, with 1,000 people sitting there, and the Elks Club handed out a little American flags, and they played, America the Beautiful in the backdrop afterwards. That was one of the special things in our community. Uh, so there's all sorts of reasons. So, Melanie, you have to come to Independence, Oregon.
Well, I love that so much. Olympian Mayor John McArdle, thank you for sharing your story and experience here on City Speak. Your dedication to public service and background as an Olympian are an inspiration, and just what a terrific conversation.
Well, I so enjoyed it, and I just want to say that in my Olympic travels around the world, and my I've met mayors all over the world are doing the same stuff. Whether it's in Britain, in Germany, whether it's a mayor in Ukraine or other places, we're all working on transportation, water, sewer connection. And I encourage your viewers, go on a YouTube channel, and um, there's some videos on mayors should run the world. And there's one by the mayor from Barcelona. And mayors have been around for 5,000 years. And we're all doing exactly the same things. We're all working together to try to make our community better. We're all doing the same kind of things. And maybe if we can help others, and I mean city people can help those at the state and the federal level understand that we're all working together to make things better for all of us, and hold them accountable, and to help them think correctly.
Well said.
Thank
Thank you.
Thanks for listening to City Speak with Clarence Anthony. If you like this show, let us know. Share this episode with your friends and make sure to subscribe. We're curious to hear what you think, what you want more of, and how we can improve. If you have feedback or an idea for a guest you'd like Clarence to sit down with, send us your thoughts at cityspeakpodcast@nlc.org. Join us next month for a new episode. Like and subscribe here or wherever you get your podcasts. See you next time.